Good late afternoon or early evening for some of you guys out there. Hope you guys are doing well. And we've got a little bit of NFL quasi breaking news. I don't know if it really is breaking news because it was pretty obvious this is where it was going a couple weeks ago. Like, how else was this going to end? But it's official now. It seems like the Indianapolis Colts and star running back Jonathan Taylor are headed for a divorce. The Colts have given star running back Jonathan Taylor permission to seek a trade, and conversations to find potential landing spots are ongoing. It won't be cheap, but there is interest, per Ian Rappaport. So, obviously, whenever any good player becomes available for a trade, I think you're going to have fans of pretty much every team at least talking about, can we go get this guy? What's it going to cost? Does he make our team better? How does he fit in? Etc., etc. So let me go through the due diligence here first. Let me just talk about it directly. Jonathan Taylor was a player who was heavily linked to the Seahawks leading up to the 2020 draft. There was a lot of talk that we were going to take him with our first round pick that we ended up using on Jordan Brooks. So there was definitely some connection building there. To my recollection, Jonathan Taylor pre-draft said the Seahawks were one of the teams that he would have been really, really happy to get drafted by, really, really happy to go to. He identified the Seahawks as one of the teams that he thought he would have fit in really well with. And there was some reason to believe that it would work because Jonathan Taylor excelled at A gap and B gap runs, which is what Pete Carroll loves. Well, what Pete Carroll has been trying to find ever since we lost Marshawn Lynch. A guy who can handle the A gap, B gap runs without getting hurt constantly. Jonathan Taylor could have been that guy, which is why a lot of people thought, hey, maybe this makes sense. We didn't do it, but now here he is a couple years later seeking a trade from the team that did draft him. So I understand that there are definitely going to be some Seahawks fans who are like, hey, does this make sense? Should we do this? Could really, really fatten up our running back stable. Sure. He's really, really good, and he's not gonna turn 25 until after this regular season is over. Still young. In 2021, he may have been the best let me put it this way. He may have been the most valuable non QB in the NFL in 2021. 1,800 yards, 18 rushing touchdowns, pretty good receiver as well. He had as good a season as you can have for a non quarterback in this league. So, not taking anything away from him. Last year, he got injured. He missed a bunch of games. Wasn't nearly as good. Still pretty productive. But we are talking about a young, very talented, very capable player. With all that being said, does it really make sense? We've spent second round picks on running backs in back to back years in K9 and Charbonnet. And we may have found a little bit of a diamond in the rough on Kenny McIntosh as well. So if you traded for Jonathan Taylor, you're probably talking about, okay, we bumped DJ Dallas off the team. And now we go Taylor, K9, Charbonnet, McIntosh. Isn't that a little overkill? Or would you throw one of those running backs into the trade? Do you trade K9 in the trade package to get Taylor? Does that move you that much in the right direction? I mean, it's a little bit better, but is it going to be worth the little extra you have to give in or give up along with K9? Do the Colts even want K9? They might look at that and go, no, we want draft picks. And by the way, what are the Colts going to want here? Are the Colts going to want more than a first round pick? Are they going to want like the Trent Richardson trade? Are they going to want more than the Trent Richardson trade because this guy has been way better as a pro than Trent Richardson? Like, what are we talking about here? And by the way, this guy wants to get paid. Do you even have the money to extend this guy? So what I'm trying to get at here really is that while he is a good player and it sounds nice in theory and we can talk about all these things that make it on some level make sense, you go through it, you really think about it, you really talk about it. I don't really think this makes sense. So this is not, to me, the part of this trade that concerns the Seahawks. The thing about Jonathan Taylor is going to concern some other team that trades for Jonathan Taylor. I don't know who. I don't know who it's going to be. Somebody out there will probably trade for him. And then I think the Seahawks get involved. And the Colts are not the only team that's going to qualify under this, but let's think about this Colts roster post Jonathan Taylor. All right, let's go over to their depth chart here on ESPN as of right now. So Jonathan Taylor's out. You've got a rookie quarterback who is very clearly not ready to play in the NFL, but they're going to throw him in the deep end anyway. You've got terrible running backs now. Their running back room would be one of the worst in the league with no Jonathan Taylor. They've got okay receivers. Pittman's good. Alec Pierce is all right. Josh Downs has some interesting potential. McKenzie's okay. Mediocre receivers. They got nothing at tight end. Offensive line's good. Offensive line is good and mostly pretty young, especially at tackle. The interior is getting a little bit older. Defensively, you've got DeForest Buckner, who's still really good. Kwity Paye is developing kind of nicely. He's all right. Shaquille Leonard's one of the best linebackers in the league. And then what? What is left at that point? You've got very little to work with on this team in terms of things that, as of right now, can be part of a winning squad. And quite frankly, a lot of the things I just said on the offense are not going to matter that much because they have Anthony Richardson, a guy who is probably 2 years away from being a good NFL player, if we're being honest. At least a year. But he is very obviously not ready. Now you're taking away his running back. You're taking away the best player he had on that offense, and you're sticking him with mediocre receivers that he's not going to be able to fully utilize because he's not ready yet. You're giving him a pretty good offensive line that he may or may not be able to utilize properly because he is going to be a little bit of a scrambler, especially at first. You're giving him nothing at tight end. And other than like 2 or 3 notably good players in the front 7, you've got nothing on this defense. So you take away Jonathan Taylor, this is one of the worst teams in the league, full stop. This is a team that is going to either now realize, oh, we're going to win like 3 or 4 games this year. Let's strip down a little bit more and get more draft picks. Or they're going to head into the trade deadline with like 1 win. And they're going to realize then, oh, okay, we got to rip it up a little bit here. And assuming one of those things happen, either the Colts realize now that they're going to have a terrible year, or they realize later they're going to have a terrible year, that's when you start making the calls. You don't make the call for Jonathan Taylor if you're the Seahawks, but you call them once they realize how screwed they are, and then you start asking around about some of their other players. The big one would obviously be DeForest Buckner, and if the Colts realize now how bad this year is going to be with this super young, super raw rookie quarterback, not a lot around him, and very little on that defense, DeForest Buckner might be a guy they just go, you know what? There's no reason to keep you. You're going to want out of here ASAP anyway. You're getting older. You're still really good. You can help a good team, but you can't really help us. Now we're going to trade DeForest Buckner. You make that call, see what you can cook up there. Maybe, and this is a little bit crazy, don't get me wrong, this is a little bit out there, Quentin Nelson. Maybe he'll be available because he's making the big money. He's getting older. Maybe they decide, you know what? This team is too far away from being good for Quentin Nelson to realistically be a part of the next good Colts team. Even if we hit on these young guys we are a couple years away. Quentin Nelson making big money, what's he going to do on this team? Is he going to block really, really well for the worst running backs in the league and Anthony Richardson? So that is where this matters for the Seahawks. That is where this Jonathan Taylor trade request and now granted trade permission can affect the Seahawks. So let me know what you guys think about all this. That's how I'm looking at this one. So see you guys later, and go Hawks.